Hey, this is Notser, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Puerto Rico. This is version 2 of the Tier 10 American Battlecruiser. Version 1 did not have as improved Sigma rating as this version. I think version 1 had 1.8. This has 2.2 Sigma. And Sigma governs the consistency of the shell to land near the center of your crosshair. Most of the criticisms of version 1 Puerto Rico were in the consistency of the guns, and supposedly they've been addressed. Based on what I've been playing with the ship, I feel like they have been. I think that the consistency's there, and I can rely on these guns. I can rely on the armor, I can rely on its AA, I can rely on its ability to use consumables to help my team. I think it's there. I think it's ready to go, and I expect it to be sold sometime around Thanksgiving for steel. We have no idea exactly what the resource is, but based on the level of buff that came to the Puerto Rico, I don't think that Wargaming intends for this to be cheap. And steel is the most expensive resource that you could sell something for, and we haven't really had a steel ship for a while. I think the Summers was, and that was like 2 or 3 months ago. We're due, and if this is going to be a steel ship, hopefully this game can show off just how effective it can really be. Now, the start of the game, not looking too good. We lost a friendly cruiser, but I was able to move forward just enough to reveal the fact that there's a Zhao perfectly broadside. I unload my HE, switching to AP. Now, the HE does great. 7,000 on a broadside like that. Prior to the Sigma buff, probably would have hit 4 shells. 5 shells. So getting a shell or 2 extra to make contact is really helpful. And if we are firing AP, it should increase the chances that we're going to have a shell go where it needs to go to cause a citadel. And that's a really nice improvement over the Alaska, where it only has 9 guns, it says 12. And 1 citadel could be the difference between you blapping a ship out of existence or them surviving till the end of the game and being the difference maker, right? It's a really big, decisive change that should be easier, theoretically, to reach with the improved Sigma now. The Zhao that we were firing on, he dropped off. Obviously, I just wanted to try and unload AP, which we did pretty good damage. Soyuz broadside on the other side of the map. Not bad at all. But the Zhao is a little aggressive. I don't know if I would have taken this ship quite where he chose to, and we're just trying to take advantage of the fact that he seems to be softening his angle, and we have AP loaded, and it looks really good. Oh yeah, it's really good. 4 citadels, one shot the guy, basically. I think 35,000 damage or something like that. That's going to work out very well for us, and that's something that probably wasn't possible with the first version. I just would not have had the kind of grouping consistency that I currently have in the Puerto Rico. So I really appreciate the improvements, and a 10,000 on the Soyuz is definitely appreciated as well. And you just keep up the fire on cooldown. Obviously, angle just like a battleship, but it has cruiser qualities as well. And that's where I think players are really going to like playing in the Puerto Rico. Obviously, the Soyuz moves forward. We have a Smolensk who seemingly is willing to give us a broadside. And this is going to work out very well for us, hopefully, if he continues to go perfectly broadside. But it does look like he is angling back. And because of the American shell arc, it's just going to take forever to get there. So, you know, we got one with the Zhao because of the American, and we missed out on maybe a possible Smolensk because we were American too. That's just the way they work. And that's okay. We didn't take much damage. I don't think any at all. We're doing pretty good. Our team is contesting, and that is a positive. We just have to continuously get into a position and take advantage of our strengths. And one of those cool strengths about the cruiser that a battleship wouldn't normally have, you're smaller. You're thinner. You can angle easier. You can find yourself a soft zone and stay there. And you don't have to move. And you can be very effective. And the key, he's slowing down, way down. That's okay. We'll still load AP. We'll still deliver a broadside. And because he's slowing way down, I'm just going to fire directly at him. And we're obviously hoping for good citadel. You might notice that there is a Charles on the corner. And we do get really good damage there, about 10,000 damage. Charles is just on the corner. Looks like he wants to push in to the center ring, but I don't think he's actually going to do it. And we're just continuously firing on the key. With great accuracy, we've found a soft zone where neither the enemy is in a position to see our bloom, so we can just do this for free. I like free damage. Free damage is great. And even if a stray shot comes in, we've got really good workable angle. If we use it, we should be very well situated to mitigate damage. And I love that about the American battlecruiser line. I've always enjoyed that about the Alaska. I kind of wish that more battlecruisers were more tanky, not less. But we're starting to see that. We're going to get the German battlecruisers with their extra armor. Obviously, the Puerto Rico is very much like a battleship. And then maybe the Brits will also benefit from that as well. Who knows? Maybe the first ones released were really vulnerable citadels and very low armor. Either way, the key's still alive. We're locating the shells. Good and bad, just a little bit off. But we're not taking any damage. We're not really risking anything, and that's good. We really don't have to do anything special in this position. We just have to try and take the advantage that we have and grow it. And I think one of the best ways to grow it is perhaps getting into a broadside and punishing some of these ships, because we're pretty big and we have enough health that we could take a little bit of return fire. And I want to try and get in that position, but obviously I am still a big ship. I am much bigger than the Des Moines. It is much harder for me to do things that the Des Moines wants to do. So you don't want to play it like a Des Moines. You really want to play it like a battleship with extra mobility. And obviously with extra mobility, it should give us a little bit more safeness when there is a possible torpedo. And I'm just going to unload some damage on the Shima. It looks pretty good that he turned out into it. We got 5 overpin, guys barely alive. If it was HE, he'd be dead at that point. Didn't know that he was going to turn out and be perfectly broad. I think we did exactly what we needed to do. And we're also getting into a position where we can hold this armored area. And I do end up using my Hydro, expect torpedoes, and ooh, a broadside Missouri. Now, I could have gone against the Cleveland, but he wasn't as broadside. And it paid off because we got 27,000 damage to the Missouri. And the incoming shells that the Cleveland sent out, they didn't do any damage. So we're just going to angle and try and kill the targets one by one. The lowest health being the Soyuz. Firing my AP. Just didn't want him to recover. That's definitely a kill secure. Maybe even a kill steal. But he needs to die. I don't want him to somehow miraculously get his health back. And then being in that position would be very bad because he is staring me down with 406s. Don't really like that. But we have this Henri, perfectly broadside. We let him enough. Didn't get the kind of damage I needed. And I am a little over-angled. The Missouri can absolutely bust into my Citadel. I don't want that. I do a quick check to see if I can punish the Missouri the way I want to. Not really, but I can attack the key, and he's lower health. So that's my thought here. We really need to just back up into a position to minimize the number of targets that could actually shoot us. We're taking the Henri, the Missouri, and maybe some of the key. And there is potential torpedoes behind us. So I just have to back up, keep AP loaded, because the only way I could really make the Henri afraid of me is if I can Citadel him. He immediately sets a second fire, and we have to deal with that. The angle has saved us against the Missouri. His AP shell cannot go in the way he wants it to, but I do have a threat of a torpedo on the backside. Multiple torpedoes, in fact, because there are 2 DDs and, of course, the Charles, which limited torpedo usage, but he still has torpedoes. I'm just trying to get out of line of sight for most of the enemy, let them retreat back behind this island, and then use my backside to pick on the DDs and this cruiser. And the AP, it looked like it was almost going in, but it was just a little bit too far behind. Need to lead him a little bit better. Of course, torpedoes, double fire. Our damage control is almost off a cooldown, which is one of the advantages of being in a cruiser versus a battleship. Stuff comes off a cooldown a little bit faster, and because of that, you should try and use it more frequently to reduce the number of, damage that's just burning or flooding on your ship. And it looks like the Charles isn't really interested in staying. I do have a front shot on the Henri, and the Henri is the only ship that can fire on me, and of course, immediately sets another fire. But we do get a broadside Citadel That's all we got. 2 ricochets, which is okay. I would like more broadside citadels, but I'm just a little too close to the island. Not that I want to change this currently, because this is still very vulnerable. Unfortunately, my team lost a ship, and I'm pretty unhealthy, and the enemy team is actually in the center of the map. So we have given up quite important real estate in an attempt to maybe finish the game off faster than it needed to be. And I think I kind of contributed to it, but I eventually was able to recover, and we get another broadside citadel. Very nice. Only need 1, and it's worth it, the salvo, of course. But we're taking a ton of damage from the players behind us. The Henri's actually firing over the island. It's a mess. And I felt like at this point, okay, we're done here. There's no way we survive. Oh, I'm really happy that the HE missed. Please don't set me on fire. Please don't set me on fire. Please don't set me on fire. Thankfully, the Shima popped his smoke. Ill-advised, I must say. I would not do that. I would have just kept me spotted and allowed my teammates possible firing arc to maybe finish them off. Because I am low enough that by doing that, it would have been more useful than him trying to hide in his smoke. I mean, I obviously couldn't fire on him. He should at least force me to attempt to fire before trying to hide in his smoke. And we are, of course, immediately detected again. That would suggest to me that the Shima has left the safety of the smoke. I'm trying to have my guns in position, and I really want to figure out what's going on. And yep, it's a Shima. Great. And he's still firing his HE shell, and we still don't have our heal back. So we get a really lucky salvo. Friendly as well. Shima's barely alive. I really want him dead, but I do have damage control. And the fast damage control really lets me... I'm not completely afraid of the fire. I'm completely afraid that he would land 2 or 3 salvos and knock us out. Unfortunately, the Shima was able to sail away from my radar detection, but the Smolensk does get the final blow. Barely gets him. I'm getting a heal back up. Friendlies are finishing off these targets that we've been keeping spotted with radar. I can use hydro if I want to. I am in a good position. The torpedoes really don't have an easy way of getting to me. So I've felt pretty good. We're recovering nicely. We've got 2 kills, 143,000 damage done, and there's about 5 enemy ships left. Only 1 battleship. So my thought was, do I want to move forward? Maybe go after the Henri outside on this side? Or I guess I could back up completely and try and stop the enemy. And when I catch sight of the Cleveland and the Charles doing exactly what we didn't want them to do, they've grouped up with the DD. I felt like, I think we need to go back here and help the DDs. They are really in a bad spot, and by me going out against the Missouri and the Henri, it's probably a death. It's much better if I would just take my advantages and go after the targets that are not as threatening to my ship's immediate demise. And oh gosh, the friendly gearing pulls the hardest Notser right in front of me. I feel so helpless in this position. But I think this is the right call, because if I do back up, the island is still there, we can still fire on the Charles, and we could possibly keep a friendly up, if not for his attempts to kill himself, and just keep backing up. This Charles still out in the open, takes a really nice broadside from the Smolensk. Smolensk could literally switch to AP, maybe on that broadside, and kill him. He's going to do tons of damage to him, and it does look like, hey, I don't need to kill him. Since he's dropped off detection, because he's dead, the enemy can't see me rounding this position, and I'm going to try and get a little cheeky. I would love to kill the Henri. Again, 305mm, 12 of them, you're pretty guaranteed that you're going to get Citadel. But in order to see the Henri, I actually have to see the enemy battleship. And that's not good, because he can do tons of damage, and we barely survive. Definitely did not expect, and don't really like getting shot in the back, especially in this low health. But it's okay, he definitely recognized. And just going to use this island to block. I can't afford to take more damage. But maybe, if I'm in the area, he will attempt to fire on me over a teammate, and I can maybe juke the shot. I have enough health that if he doesn't Citadel me, it's going to take multiple salvos. And I think we're in a good position. And, one nice thing about this, I know this is completely weird, but Because of the way the Puerto Rico's set up, 50-50, even if I'm in a back position, I still can have 6 guns to fire on the enemy, and that's really nice. Obviously, 12 is better than 6, but having 6 is better than 3. And 3 would be what I would be stuck with in this position in the Alaska. So I think we're doing all right. Ooh, yeah, Missouri just misses his location just a little bit. We do have a possible citadel on the Henri in the background because they are switching positions. And if I could knock this guy out, man, it would be so awesome. Unfortunately, we don't. Front guns had no chance to get over there. Back guns we only had, and only one actually dispersed on the target. So still alive, and we're still spotted by the Missouri's radar. So I still can't afford to show too much of my side. I am aware that I want to work on the Henri, and again, we lose another friendly. So this is just very, very close to being a very bad outcome. And oh man, he's able to ricochet 2 shells from that angle, from that distance. The Missouri is dying though, which is good. And I think we're going to be pretty good. Missouri dies, we can capture the 2 bases in the center, force everyone back. Because obviously the friendlies drop off detection, I just use radar just to confirm that the Missouri is indeed burning down, which he is. And all that's left is the Henri. So the Puerto Rico. I think the Puerto Rico is pretty cool. I think it does a good job of straddling that line between a cruiser and a battleship. And I think that the Puerto Rico versus the Alaska, it's a definite noticeable increase in damage output. The alphas are very heavy and very healthy, and I like that. It obviously has American AP shell, so extra AP damage. You are definitely a force to be reckoned with regard to AP and HE. Now, we barely missed out on killing that Henri, and I let out an HE salvo, hoping that we might hit him, but probably not. And we do! We actually hit the Henri and finish off that game. Pretty outstanding, if I do say so, that this ship could weather that kind of damage. We had a bunch of different types of targets, and it seemed very effective against many different types. So 2200 base XP, the Smolensk also helped out in that win. It was a close, contested game, and we were right at the front lines for a good portion of it. So really have enjoyed this version of the Puerto Rico. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to check out more of my content, you can click the most recent or the most relevant uploads. You could also choose to subscribe to my channel. We do daily World of Warship videos, first impression how-to, news, and review related. My North American recruit invite is on the screen. You can take advantage of that. I stream at twitch.tv/Notser. Thank you, have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.